Alright, imagine that you're in a competition to stack the tallest tower out of books. You have two choices in front of you. You could either stack the books in a spread out fashion and try to build the tallest tower that way, or you could stack the books on top of each other in a single line. Of course, the books that are stacked right on top of one another will make the most progress. This is kinda like being focused on one point, which levels you up the most, rather than being spread out with your efforts and making little and redundant progress in everything. If we haven't met yet, hello, I'm Aaron, base straight A student, always leveling up life, and today I just want to share some life lessons that I wish I knew around a year ago from now. So that was when I was 15, now I'm 16, and it was around the time when I was first getting into like this, self-improvement, David Goggins, escape the matrix type mindset, like the based mindset. And these kind of lessons that I've picked up through my experience would have really helped me when I was younger, and it would have saved me a bunch of time in getting to the place that I am right now at a much quicker and, let's say, less arduous pace. Because the way I got here, especially the first starting stages of self-improvement, and you have kind of like this discipline, David Goggins time mindset, which is really not sustainable over a long time. And I realized that you don't really need it. Okay, now this might seem kind of new to you if you've fully been into the David Goggins kind of who's going to carry the boats in the log type stuff. But usually, right? Not usually, actually, every single time, if you want to get something, you don't need to have the discipline and the hard pain, sweat, blood, tears. Instead, you can simply go towards it with a calm mind. You don't need to think about it as emotionally, and you just, blankly go to it and get it. As simple as that. You don't need to create that excess amount of emotional energy for no reason other than just wasting your energy, which could have been directed at, learning more about your goals or progressing further in them. This is going to be a fairly unedited video, so I hope your attention span's up to it, bro. But there will be timestamps in the description, so if you find that I'm saying something that you're already aware of, then you can perhaps skip around if you'd like. Alright, the first tip, which is probably the highest ROI tip that I can give you, and I'm going to give it to you straight up. I'm not going to keep it at the end so that I get you to keep watching. I don't really care about that, right? The first tip, which it would have really helped me when I was 15, because around that time I remember I flicked around a lot. Around the time of March, April, June of 2023, every single week felt like I was on something completely else. One week I was doing dropshipping, the next week I'm doing SMMA, the next week I'm completely focused on gym, then week after that I want to do martial arts, and I had no clear purpose and clear paths in life. I was just going at a bunch of different things, and to make the most progress in your self-improvement, in your goals, it's auspicious to just lock in on something, because when you direct your focus on one thing, you can do really good at it. The longer you focus on one thing, it's gonna compound even more. I've learned this from Alex Hermosi, that people think that millionaires do much more than what the ordinary man does, and that's why they're millionaires. But I've learned that it's actually the opposite, and that millionaires do less in their lives than the ordinary people, which I can see why it's completely true, because the less you have on your plate, the more attention and effort you can direct at those little things, those small things that you do have, and that will just lead to less quantity but more quality in the things. And so it's really worthwhile to find a clear goal and path, and to focus on that extensively for months if not years, right? Because great things take time. They have to take time, otherwise everyone would have great things, but no one stays consistent at it for long enough, and that's where the compounding really happens. If you're here right now, you're probably around the ages of 14, 15, 16, 17, a relatively young age, and the positive of that is that we have a bunch of time. So that the sooner we lock in on something, the sooner we direct our focus onto a few key main goals in our lives that really mean a lot to us personally, that means we can really excel at them because we can stick to them for years. And so another thing is that if I could, I would have started even earlier than 15, because I knew I would have more time under my belt, and I would have more time for things to compound. And so this relates with the quote, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday, the second best time is today, or something like that. I don't really remember, just pulling it out of the top of my head. But the point is that if you aren't doing what you really feel inclined to do, what you feel your purpose, your goals actually are, and you're putting it off because of whatever, because you feel that people are going to judge you, feel insecure or whatever, right? It's alright. The best time is now, today. So start with it as soon as possible. and lock in on it. Lock in on a few meaningful things, and the sooner you lock the fuck in on something and keep distractions at a minimum so it doesn't swerve you off your path, the better and more auspicious your life's gonna be. The second thing is that you get what you do not want. When we go through life, we come across this phenomenon that we get stuff that we usually do not want. Like, let me try and think of an example. Let's say that you're walking to school, right? And you're in a rush or you're gonna be late and you have to make it on time. It's a super important lessons. Teacher's gonna fucking decimate you if you're late. And as you're rushing to school, you keep thinking to yourself that you do not want to get a red light. You do not want to get a red light. It will make you so much slower. And you keep focusing on that. And guess what? What ends up happening is that you hit every single goddamn red light there is out there. And so it makes you much slower. And the problem I found with that is that the more you do not want something, the more likely it is that you're gonna get it. It's this like weird thing, but it really holds true. And I never really knew about why this actually happened until I realized that the more you focus on something, the more it's gonna grow. It's quite simple, right? The more you focus on something that you do not want, the likelier it is that you're gonna end up getting it. And so the actionable step here is to instead focus on your goals, whatever you're locked in on, to focus on that and to create results in that, and eventually that will grow because you're giving it the most of your thought energy and your attention. Third thing that I wish I knew is to free yourself from distractions. So once you're locked in on something, there will be distractions around you. You can imagine this, right? You're walking through your path towards your goal, and it's kind of like a forest where you're walking, and around you it's like a swivelly fucking lane of ups and downs, because that's usually what progress towards a goal is like, ups and downs. And there's like so many distractions around you. As you walk, you see a fucking tree that looks like, I don't know, a deer or something. You're like, that's a distraction. You could completely get swerved off your path into there, but that would just distract you from your goal. You resist that distraction, or you free yourself from that. Keep walking, you keep walking. You look to your left. What is that? A fucking campfire with some naked people. That's another pretty big distraction. By the way, I don't know where I'm coming up with these examples, just random stuff. And so that can also distract you. And if you actually fall for that distraction, and you're like, hang on, let me check. Hold on. Let me check what that is. And you go towards it. That's it. Distracted. You're off your path now. You swerved off your path. And you're off to some random fucking naked camp now, whatever the fuck I said. And so, when we are walking, when we're traversing through this journey of life towards our goals, if we're based and you're not fucking sleeping through life, there will be distractions on the path. It's just how like life is. Your job is to free yourself from that and to remember, just remember, that's all it takes, to be aware of the distractions and simply not to go towards them and keep going down your path towards your goals. The fourth tip is to set up a habit tracker. Now, with this new angle, by the way, you can see that I have my current monthly habit tracker right here. And I started this when I was around 15 and a half of like summer 2023. And I wish I started earlier because it's such a high ROI thing. When we get onto self-improvement, we learn about all like these habits that are good for us and healthy for us, like cold showers, visualizations, meditations, all that jam. Instead of like, spreading your attention out thin with all those different things zapping your attention, you can compile it all down into a singular habit tracker like this. And all you have to do is that mindlessly just make sure everything is ticked. And then you don't have to put any fucking attention to it at all. It's just mindless, and you know that if you follow it, you'll be good. You'll improve yourself without even you putting that much work in, and you can instead direct it towards like higher ROI thinking towards your goal. And so definitely get started with a habit tracker. You can either do it on paper like me, or you can do it digitally. If you want to do it digitally, I have a template for it, link down below. It's completely free. It's on Notion, so you can check it out if you want. And you might think that having habits is really boring. Like, do you really want to be having to do habits every single day? But I would suggest to like change your perspective and to not view it as like this dull task, but it's just something that you do. And you can even shift your mindset to think that it's kind of fun, because it's just habits. You don't have to like think about it. It's mindless. And that's the power, because you can do all these like long-term self-improvement habits without directing any thought energy to it. If you read Atomic Habits, you know that habits compound. And that's when the true results really come. The fifth thing is posture. Posture check, bro. Are you sitting like this right now? Come on, bro. Come on. When I was like 14, 15, I used to have terrible posture. It probably came from the fact that I like played fucking Fortnite and Minecraft and COD and stuff for 12-hour days. I was a full-on gamer back then, but I used to have crazy posture. I was like a full-on fucking C, bro. And you know the worst thing about it? The worst thing is that no one fucking told me that I had bad posture. So I kind of just went through life with it without even like fully realizing. My friends didn't tell me, my parents didn't tell me. You know, every once in a while they told me to like, you know, stand up straight. But that was it. No one told me that, you know, you look like a fucking C, fucking hunchback, and you should like, you know, just straighten yourself up. And so I want to share some tips about posture that I've recently learned. One thing is to kind of visualize yourself in kind of like this Vitruvian man position. You can use that as like a reference of how good your posture should be. And so you can imagine yourself as kind of like this Vitruvian man, which is like completely straight, you know, fucking shoulders back, chest out, whatever, you know. That's the first tip, to be mindful of your posture and have kind of like this Vitruvian man thing in your mind. And the second tip that I recently learned is that your best posture is actually your next one. So we might think that our best posture, like everyone tells us to stand up straight, you know, shoulders back, like even I did like a couple of minutes ago. But actually, like the research shows the best posture is your next one, because like right now I'm standing like this, right? My best posture would not be to like stand up straight even more or whatever. It would maybe to like move around and maybe like, I don't know, put my leg on this desk or whatever. It's just to change it. Having like this, you know, typical conventional posture, even though it is better than having like a hunchback, it's not really that natural for us to have it like 24/7. It's really tiring to have it. And so the best posture, if you're like slouching in your chair or whatever, is to just keep moving around in it and not just stick to one thing for like an entire hour or two. You can also do a bunch of posture exercises. I, for example, do all of them on my pull day. So I do something like this, face pull it's called. I also do like this with the cables. Also do like rear delts, like that. And that is just enough for me to have like a straight posture. And you're training the muscles that let you have the straight posture, so you don't even have to think about having it. And your like muscles would do it for you without you even having to dedicate any attention to it. You're like outsourcing your good posture to your muscles. It's fucking great, man. Before, when I was like in this David Goggins mindset, I used to completely disregard my feelings, which is alright, you know, we shouldn't like run completely on feelings. But when I'm doing stuff like filmmaking, like recently, you know, some of my intros in my videos are like analogies or scenarios of me filmmaking the thing, and it's super fun when I do it. And I feel really inclined to do it. So what happens is that every time I do it and I follow my intuition, like I want to get this shot, I don't know if it'll be good, but I feel inclined to get this shot, and I just do it without questioning it twice, it ends up coming out pretty damn good. Like it does what I intended it to do without me having to like obsessively think about it and compare every single angle, and just a bunch of headache, which will take me a bunch of time, because as I'm doing a fair amount of things, I mean, I'm doing school, doing gym, doing habit tracker, also doing all this YouTube stuff on the side. And so I've found that listening to your intuition is just a better and more efficient way to just get things done than to like obsess over it and be a perfectionist. I'm not saying, right, to completely follow your inclinations like fucking horse, like only look at that and fucking tune out everything else. I'm just saying to use like your intuition as kind of like a compass in life, and it like points to broadly the direction you want to be heading towards. Alright, the seventh and final tip is to keep track of your input. So this is something that I learned from Ali Abdaal amongst a bunch of other people and reading a bunch of books. Ali Abdaal calls it a content diet. I call it like whatever inputs you have in life. And the reason is your input is directly correlated with your output. Your input basically equals to your output. Whatever you're inputting into your mind, whatever you're giving your attention to, maybe you read a book by Alex Hormozy, maybe you watched this podcast, maybe you played this game, and all of these different things morph and kind of shape your output. And so if you want your output to be good, to make sure your input is also good, bro. It's like if you have garbage coming in, you're gonna have garbage coming out. And there's also this quote of like, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So make sure that whatever inputs you have or whatever friends you choose to be around with the closest, make sure that they're actually, you know, high quality and up to your standards and not like completely degenerate. Basically surround yourself with the right stuff, and I found that your output will usually take care of itself. I do hope that you found this valuable, bro. My younger self would love to have something like this, and it would have really helped him in getting to where I am right now much faster. So do check out the Notion templates that I have linked down below. They're completely free, and as always, your potential is only limited by your intention. Take care, bro.